Big announcements from Dana White surrounding the bantamweight division matchups moving forward, which all just solidifies that my predictions for what I thought the bantamweight matchup should have been, they're all wrong. And looking back on it, I should have known. The UFC doesn't really make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I'm looking at these like, how can they make sense? But at the same time, I'm not complaining because they're good fights. They're really good fights. My prediction, if we're looking at the welterweight division right now, obviously you got Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley for the belt. And then you got Merab Dvalishvili, who seems to be sidelined with the hand injury. And then you got Henry Cejudo at number 3. And it looked like Cejudo wanted to fight Merab, but Merab can't fight. So I thought the next most logical fight for Cejudo would be Corey Sandhagen. And that makes sense for Corey Sandhagen being the number 4 ranked fighter to take on Cejudo because he's coming off a big win against Chito Vera. That's not how it went down. I would then say you could make a rematch between Chito Vera and Song Yadong because Chito just lost. He should probably fight farther back in the pecking order against Song Yadong, who's coming off a win. That didn't happen. And then I also said Rob Font versus Petr Yan because Petr Yan's coming off the loss and Rob Font's coming off a win. So that makes sense as far as movement. Yan lost ahead of him, fights down and fights Font. Font's below him, fight above him. So, I mean, that makes sense to me. I guess the odd man out would be Umar Nurmagomedov. And that's just how it goes. They want to get Umar a fight. I understand it. I definitely understand it. The current matchups, though, right now, announced today, at least 2 out of the 3 that I'm going to refer to are full officially announced. The other one sounds like it is going to be announced fairly soon. But Henry Cejudo versus Chito Vera. So it looks like Cejudo might not have wanted to wait for Merab. That's why he's taking this fight. But he's taking it against Chito, who's ranked number 6, coming off a loss where he got pretty much dominated. And then he's getting a higher ranked opponent. That doesn't make sense. That makes 0 sense. And that's going to be on the 292 card. Yeah, 292 card in Boston in August. Doesn't really make sense to me, man. It's going to make less sense when I tell you what the next matchup is. It's Corey Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Corey Sandhagen's ranked number 4. Umar number 11. His most recent fight was Raoni Barcelos, who's not ranked. And Umar's ranked number 11. He's moving all the way up to number 4. And Corey, coming off the big win over Chito, is going to fight 7 spots down in the rankings. And I know rankings aren't everything. But I don't know, maybe he was the only one that would accept the fight with Umar. I'm guessing that's probably what happened because it would make a lot more sense for Corey to fight Cejudo. And I don't think Corey would decline a fight against Cejudo if he's going to accept the fight against Umar. So maybe Corey's the only willing participant to take on Umar. And that's what they had to go with. And Corey's like, yeah, I don't care. I'll fight anybody. But where do we go from here? So then you're looking at the other matchups. And so you got Cejudo versus Chito Vera. That is rumored to be on the 292 card as well as the Sean O'Malley Aljamain Sterling fight. And then Corey Sandhagen versus Umar is going to be on a fight night main event in Nashville, Tennessee, which I believe is like August 5th. So it's like a couple weeks before. And then the other matchup within the bantamweight division is Rob Font versus Song Yadong. And I believe that one is going to be on the 292 card as well. That one's one they're looking at. So, I mean, what do you make of that? What can you make of that? I don't really get it. I mean, I think they have to get Umar a fight, and Corey's got to be the only willing participant. So that kind of hurts Corey. And then, it doesn't make any sense to me. like, let's say Umar beats Corey Sandhagen. Does Umar get the next title shot? Or does Corey get a title shot from beating Umar? Like, is that the number one contenders fight? Or is it Cejudo versus Chito Vera? Because Cejudo just fought for a title and has been lobbying to get the title shot against Sean O'Malley if Aljamain Sterling can't go. So is that the number one contenders fight? Or is it Sandhagen versus Nurmagomedov? Or is it still Merab? Because Aljo did come out and say that this is his last fight at bantamweight. So if he wins, then is it just going to be a vacant title fight with Merab and whoever? Possibly. But if O'Malley wins, then you're like, who's next? Like, who do you choose to be next? I guess you go based off of who wins those fights, because let's say Chito pulls it off against Cejudo. Well, are you going to give Chito a title shot after he beats Cejudo, even though he just lost to Corey? And if Corey beats Umar and Chito beats Cejudo, like, who are you going to give it to? Like, because technically Chito beat the guy ahead of him, but Corey beat Chito. So it doesn't make sense. I mean, nothing ever makes sense in the UFC, but I'm looking at this one like, I think there could have been better matchmaking, but at the same time, it might have been the only option. And maybe they have other motives that they need to go to. That's a whole other topic, but I'm looking at this one. Fun fights. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited to watch these fights because that Corey Sandhagen fight is going to be super high level, and I'm looking at how they match up. I'm like, Umar is a killer on the feet, he's a killer on the ground. You look at Corey, killer on the feet, and a much improved ground game. I mean, the only time we've really seen him in bad spot is when he fought Aljo, when Aljo got his back. So is Umar probably going to take him to the ground? I would assume so. Like, that's probably the path of least resistance. So he's going to get tested there. But then I look at it, like Corey against Cejudo. How does Cejudo go about fighting Corey? Because he's going to have a big length disadvantage. So maybe that's why Cejudo's like, maybe I don't want to fight Sandhagen. I could definitely take on Chito. And if Cejudo didn't want to wait for Merab and he's like, UFC, get me a fight. I'm 36 years old, I believe. And they offered him Chito. He's like, I could take Chito. I just watched him get dominated by Corey Sandhagen. I know how I can beat him. So maybe he's thinking that. But just a weird spot, because you look at Chito, and I love Chito, but that's a tough fight for him after he just got dominated for 5 rounds by Corey Sandhagen. And basically his whole fighting style got exposed. Like, he took him down in the first 2 rounds and then won the 3rd round and then just coasted because he had won the first 3 rounds pretty easily. And once you get ahead of Chito, you just got to stay safe and you're good. And this is probably going to be a 3-round fight, UFC 282. So if Chito's a slow starter, he's only going to have 3 rounds to work with. And I think Cejudo probably beats it pretty handedly. And where does the UFC go after that? If Cejudo beats Chito, and you could just basically say the winner of Sandhagen Umar, do they have to fight for the title? Or do they have to fight to be the number 1 contender after that? If it's vacant, or do they just do that right away, or do they wait for Merab? My guess is they probably ain't going to wait for Merab no matter what. They ain't going to wait for him. So bantamweight division, super fun, but a lot of it doesn't make sense. I mean, it's pretty similar to when O'Malley fought Petr Yan. It didn't make any sense for Petr Yan. He ended up losing. And it didn't turn out well for him, because then he got matched up with Merab after that, and coming off of 2 losses at that point, that was his 3rd. Now where does he go? I mean, he's still ranked number 5, but bantamweight division is something. We'll see how it shakes out. Interesting fights to come, but it doesn't make sense. And I thought I had it figured out when I made my predictions on what they were going to make the matchups for. And yeah, you can never predict these kind of things. So, hey, Jive Picks here. Make sure to leave a sub down below if you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you liked it. And you can follow me on the socials down below. Till next time, hey, Jive Picks. Signing out.